Somebody loves me.
I wonder who,
I wonder who she can be.
She was once the picture of innocence and charm, a shining star who captured the magic of Hollywood's golden age. Joan Leslie wasn't just an actress. She was a symbol of purity and hope during a time when the world needed both. With her angelic smile and heartfelt performances, she became one of the most adored stars of her era, working beside some of the biggest names in film. But behind that radiant glow was a young woman fighting silent battles no one saw. As the lights of fame began to fade, so did her world, marked by heartbreak, betrayal, and a painful struggle to hold on to everything she had worked so hard for. It's been 10 long years since Joan Leslie passed away, yet the echoes of her story still linger, a haunting reminder of how easily Hollywood can build someone up and then quietly take it all away. Joan Leslie was born as Joan Agnes Teresa Sadie Broadus on January 26, 1925, in Detroit, Michigan. She grew up alongside her older sisters Mary and Betty in a home filled with music and ambition. From childhood, Joan carried a rare mix of innocence and quiet wisdom, a grace that seemed far beyond her years. She was curious, full of energy, and always eager to learn. Those who met her often said she never merely entered a room. She rushed into it, breathless and smiling, her hazel eyes sparkling with life. Her auburn hair framed a face that critics described as soft and scenic, a blend of classical beauty and youthful charm. Nothing about her was forced. Her warmth felt effortless. She had little interest in Hollywood's wilder side. She avoided alcohol completely, joking that lemonade is my limit, and found joy instead in fruit, sunshine, and song. Once, after playing a radiant sun goddess at the 1941 Southern California Sun Festival, she was gifted a car and crates of fresh fruit, fitting tributes to her bright spirit. At 16, while other starlets chased parties and attention, Joan stayed grounded. She preferred rehearsing her lines or spending time with her family. When she was finally persuaded to attend a winter dance as a friend's date, Warner Brothers designer Milo made her a robin's egg blue gown that fluttered as she moved. Her mother asked if she'd wear makeup. Joan simply smiled. "I don't want to look like a movie star," she said, brushing her hair once more before leaving. That was Joan Leslie, unpretentious, kind, and real. In an industry that often rushed youth into glamour, she remained pure-hearted and genuine. Her story, and that of her sisters who began this journey with her, captures something that feels almost lost today. A time when innocence could still shine in Hollywood, even if only for a fleeting moment. Her story began when she was just 2 years old inside a small Detroit auditorium filled with families and laughter. Her older sisters, Mary and Betty, then 7 and 5, were performing a cheerful clog dancing number when the announcer unexpectedly called for a tiny miss to sing "You've Got Me," picking petals off the daisies. The child who was supposed to sing had fallen ill, leaving the stage empty for a moment. Without hesitation or fear, little Joan stepped forward and began to sing, "Let a Smile Be Your Umbrella." Her tiny voice carried across the hall with such sweetness and confidence that it caught everyone off guard. The audience broke into applause and the host laughed in delight. Joan walked off the stage that night, not only with a few dollars in her hand, but with the first spark of what would become a lifelong love for performing. That evening changed everything. The Broadus family realized their two-girl act had just gained a third star. Their father, an Irish-born former bank teller who had recently lost his job after 20 years of service, was cautious about turning performance into a career. But their mother, practical, strong, and deeply devoted, saw something special in her daughters. She began taking them to local talent agencies, where they were soon booked to perform for fraternal clubs like the Lions, Elks, and Masons. What started as a small family pastime quickly turned into a serious routine complete with rehearsals, costumes, and a growing list of shows. By the time Joan was 5, the Broadus sisters had become a polished trio. They traded clog dancing for tap routines, added comedy skits, and incorporated music into their act. Mary learned to play the saxophone. Betty took up the banjo, and Joan, ever the eager learner, mastered the accordion. Her tiny fingers moved gracefully over the keys, her rhythm naturally precise and full of joy. The performances didn't make them rich, but they brought the family pride and hope. Each show helped pay a few bills and lifted the family spirits during hard times. More importantly, they gave young Joan a sense of belonging. The stage became her second home, a place where she could make people smile and forget their troubles, even if just for a little while. For Joan, it was never about chasing fame or fortune. What she loved most was the feeling of connection, the laughter, the applause, and the way the lights seemed to dance around her, as if the world itself were applauding her courage. Those early years were a mix of hard work and innocent wonder, where ordinary life met extraordinary dreams. And beneath those bright stage lights, a star was quietly being born, one whose gentle spirit and determination would someday make her one of Hollywood's most beloved faces. By the time 4 years had passed, the Broaddus sisters had grown from eager local performers into confident, seasoned entertainers. What began as a small novelty act for Lions and Elks Club gatherings had blossomed into a polished and professional show. Each year, they introduced new dance routines, fresh costumes, and clever choreography that drew bigger audiences. Their popularity was rising, and so were their fees. What once brought in just a few dollars now cost the lodges a respectable $30 or $35, though they still gave a discount to old friends. But with growing fame came painful lessons. During a trip to Detroit, the sisters crossed paths with a charming and persuasive dance instructor. He was full of confidence, calling himself a modern master of the art. His words dripped with promise. He claimed he could refine their act, make them more graceful, more sophisticated, more professional. The sisters, young and hopeful, were mesmerized. They dreamed of stepping onto bigger stages, and this man seemed to hold the key to their future. However, his lessons came at a cost far beyond what their modest family could afford. Determined not to give up, Mary, the eldest and most practical of the trio, made a difficult decision. She proposed that they leave their instruments, Mary's saxophone, Betty's banjo, and Joan's cherished Italian accordion as collateral until they could pay the rest of the money owed. The instructor smiled and agreed, assuring them he would keep everything safe. But when they returned for their next lesson, he was gone, vanished without a trace along with their instruments. The shock was devastating. For Joan, the youngest, the loss of her accordion cut the deepest. That instrument had been more than wood and metal. It was her voice, her constant companion through every performance, her comfort when words failed her. The sisters carried on, hiding their pain behind bright smiles and graceful dance steps. They never spoke much about that betrayal, but the memory lingered. It was a painful reminder that not every glittering promise in show business shines with truth. Sometimes, even in a world built on applause and lights, heartbreak waits quietly behind the curtain. By the time Joan was 12, her older sisters Betty and Mary were already accomplished young performers, 15 and 17 years old, each with years of experience on nearly every theater stage in Detroit. The Broaddus sisters had become local stars, their act honed by countless rehearsals, blisters, and worn-out dance shoes. Every step, every note, and every twirl had been perfected through sheer determination. Soon their dreams stretched beyond the familiar streets of Michigan. They began touring nearby cities, Flint, Toledo, Lansing, performing wherever they could, earning just enough to keep moving, never quite enough to rest. Their biggest thrill came when they took a brave step into international territory, crossing the bridge into Windsor, Ontario. Though just across the river, to them it felt as if the entire world had suddenly expanded. Mama Broaddus, their ever-determined mother and manager, handled every booking and journey with tireless care. She negotiated firmly with event organizers who tried to underpay her young daughters, proving that while she might appear gentle, she was not someone to be underestimated. Yet even she struggled to keep up with the relentless pace of show business. Their act had blossomed beautifully over the years. Mary and Betty would begin with harmony so sweet they could stop the audience's breath, then launch into a dazzling dance routine, a routine taught by the very dance instructor who had once mysteriously disappeared with their instruments. Then it was Joan's turn. Radiant in flowing white chiffon, she sang Rhythm in My Nursery Rhymes, her voice mature and expressive far beyond her 12 years. The sisters loved performing in white. It suited us, Joan later said. Two redheads and a brunette. It made us look like a living picture. Life on the road was exciting but draining. They traveled in a Ford driven by their father with their small terrier, Mick, serving as the troupe's lovable mascot. Between shows, Mama Broadus arranged for tutors to make sure the girls kept up with their schoolwork. Money was always tight, and yet no matter how low their funds ran, a new opportunity seemed to appear, almost as if fate refused to let their dreams fade away. By the time they wrapped up their Detroit tour, achieving a career high of $250 a week, the family knew that their next inevitable destination was waiting: the bright lights and grand stages of New York City. When the Broadus family reached New York, their lives took two unforgettable turns. The first was pure chance. A talent scout from MGM spotted young Joan performing at the Paradise Restaurant and arranged a screen test. Though she signed briefly with Columbia, her big break still seemed far away. The second event was far stranger. On a casual walk down Broadway, the sisters unexpectedly ran into the very man who had once stolen their beloved instruments. But instead of anger, they greeted him warmly. Perhaps time had softened the hurt, or perhaps their hearts were simply too kind. He apologized through his actions, offering to teach them again, this time refusing any payment. For the Broadus girls, it was a strange full-circle moment, as if their stolen melodies had somehow returned through forgiveness. Joan's early experiences in New York led to her first film appearance, a brief role alongside Greta Garbo in Camille. Though MGM saw her only as a child extra, Warner Brothers recognized her spark. A sharp-eyed executive saw her in Nancy Drew Reporter and immediately offered her a contract. From there, her rise was steady. Small parts in High Sierra and The Wagons Roll at Night built her confidence until Sergeant York made her a true star. With Joan's Hollywood breakthrough, the family left New York for California, renting a modest apartment near the studios. Her sisters Mary and Betty continued to chase their own dreams. Mary soon earned a Warner contract herself after a scout discovered her singing with a local band, unaware she was Joan's sister. Betty, meanwhile, performed nightly at Lindy's, charming diners with her voice. Despite their separate paths, the sisters remained inseparable. They admired each other fiercely, Joan calling Mary the most talented, Mary praising Joan's grace, and Betty proudly insisting that Joan is fantastic. Fame never divided them. In a city built on competition, the Broadus sisters' greatest success was their loyalty. Three young women bound by love, resilience, and the memory of the songs they once played together. Leslie's charm and screen presence extended to musicals as well. She delighted audiences in Yankee Doodle Dandy, 1942, as Mary Cohan, and appeared in patriotic wartime entertainment like This Is the Army, 1943, and Thank Your Lucky Stars, in 1943. During the mid-1940s, she demonstrated her dramatic range in The Hard Way, 1943, and Too Young to Know, 1945, balancing innocence with emotional depth. In the late 1940s and 1950s, Leslie expanded her career to MGM and RKO, starring in films like Cinderella Jones, 1946, Two Guys from Milwaukee, or 1946, and Born to Be Bad, 1950. She also explored westerns and action roles, including Man in the Saddle, 1951, Toughest Man in Arizona, 1952, and Flight Nurse, 1953, showcasing her ability to adapt to changing studio demands while maintaining her signature warmth and appeal. As television emerged, Leslie smoothly transitioned to the small screen, appearing in popular series such as Fireside Theater, 1951-52, Lux Video Theater, 1954, Schlitz Playhouse of Stars, 1952, Charlie's Angels, 1978, and Murder, She Wrote, 1988. Her TV work highlighted her longevity and adaptability, keeping her connected with audiences across decades. Through her career, Joan Leslie became known for portraying resilient, relatable, and charming women, navigating Hollywood with grace and integrity. From her early days as a child performer to her later work on television, she remained a symbol of classical Hollywood warmth and versatility, earning her place as one of the era's enduring stars. In March 1950, Joan Leslie married Dr. William Caldwell, an obstetrician, and together they had identical twin daughters who both became teachers. Beyond her family life, Joan was deeply engaged in her community and beliefs. A devoted Democrat, she supported Adlai Stevenson's 1952 presidential campaign, and as a devout Catholic, she dedicated over 50 years to charity work at St. Anne's Maternity Home. Leslie also explored her creative side, designing clothing under her own brand. After William's passing in 2000, she honored his legacy by establishing the Dr. William G. and Joan L. Caldwell Chair in Gynecologic Oncology at the University of Louisville, where she had been a proud adopted alumna for more than 3 decades. Joan Leslie's life reflected the same warmth, grace, and dedication off-screen that had made her a beloved Hollywood star. Joan Leslie passed away peacefully on October 12, 2015, at the age of 90, leaving behind a remarkable legacy in Hollywood and beyond. Her career spanning over 5 decades reflected a rare combination of talent, charm, and resilience. From her early days as a child performer to her acclaimed roles in classics like High Sierra, Sergeant York, and Yankee Doodle Dandy, she was admired not only for her screen presence, but also for her professionalism and dedication, earning the respect of co-stars and directors alike. Beyond her cinematic achievements, Leslie's impact extended into her personal and philanthropic endeavors. She nurtured a devoted family life with her husband, Dr. William Caldwell, and their twin daughters, all while remaining deeply involved in charitable causes, particularly the St. Anne's Maternity Home, which benefited from her over 50 years of service. Her commitment to education and medicine was cemented through the establishment of the Dr. William G. and Joan L. Caldwell Chair in Gynecologic Oncology at the University of Louisville, honoring her husband and supporting future medical research. Joan Leslie's legacy is that of a star who never lost her humanity amid Hollywood glamour. She embodied elegance, integrity, and compassion, inspiring both audiences and those who worked alongside her. Today, she is remembered not just for her unforgettable performances on screen, but for a life lived with grace, devotion, and purpose. A true example of how talent and kindness can coexist in the spotlight.